And they only think it happens to black people. Wow. I just got a question for you. You woke? Time to get up. Welcome again to Thought You Were Woke No Speed Limit Podcast. My name is Alvin. I hope you're having a terrific day. Today I want to talk about Anthony Mitchell. Most of y'all don't know who I'm talking about. The family of Anthony Mitchell have filed a lawsuit against the Walker Sheriff's Department following information in the death of Anthony Mitchell. Anthony Mitchell suffered from mental illness and had a history of drug abuse. Mitchell had been jailed after he supposedly fired at sheriffs while hiding in the woods near a relative's home. He had lost a lot of weight and had sprayed black paint on his face. Mitchell was locked in an isolated cell, not meant for the prison inmates, and he was naked. A few days later, Mitchell was tased by officers who also removed his false teeth, making it impossible for Mitchell to eat. Officers claimed they found Mitchell in a non-responsive state on the floor of the isolation cell he was in and dressed him and took him to Walker County Hospital. Now, what I'm about to tell you is pretty disturbing. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you some of the pictures from that incident. But this one is pretty disturbing. Emergency room personnel noticed that Anthony was suffering from hypothermia. Yes, hypothermia. Sheriffs had failed to report that they had put Mitchell in a freezer at the jail. 5 hours later, Mitchell was dead. Mitchell's family and local folks are protesting at the sheriff's office demanding answers. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency is investigating. The FBI is also investigating this case after it has garnered some national attention. Now, you know we just not too long ago you got through watching what happened with Tyree Nichols, right? That definitely garnered national attention. Now, here's a white guy, Walker County. And I will say this. It's wonderful to see people actually protesting in Walker County against this because often crimes like this, people say, oh, he was a drug user, he was abusive, so on and so forth. Now, here's some information you didn't know. The only reason this information even got out was because a county officer decided to release videotape from what was going on during the timeline of Mitchell being in jail. And that's what I'm showing you here, these pictures I'm showing you here. As you can see in one picture, they're dragging Mitchell into this specialized isolated cell, which actually was not even supposedly for for prisoners. It was an isolated cell with a window, I guess so they could watch him and make sure he didn't commit suicide or hurt himself. But they left him in that cell. The officers, for some reason, a few days later went in that cell and they ended up tasing him. And they said it was tased repeatedly. Whatever happened with that, they also took his false teeth because I guess somehow he wasn't able to properly close his mouth or he was trying to bite officers. I'm not sure, but they took his false teeth, which took away his ability to eat his food unless they were going to start giving him soup. I don't know. However, if you look at this last picture, the first picture, the sad part about it is he's naked on the floor in this room. 2 or 3 days. Now, this ain't the first time I heard about somebody being naked on the floor. If you remember, I told you about the woman in Florida who went to the bank and they charged her. The sheriff threw her in jail and they took all her clothes off and left her in the cell. Right? Same thing here. They did with him. I understand he was having a mental crisis or whatever, but you still left him naked on the floor in the room. Now, when they're carrying him out to the car, and I'm sorry these pictures are so disturbing, but they're carrying him out to the car. He's not non-responsive. They're putting him in the backseat of the car. They're literally carrying him to the backseat of a police car. They haven't called an ambulance to the county jail. They're taking him personally themselves in their jail car to the Walker County Hospital. This man, there's a lot of questions that's being asked. His body temperature was 72 degrees when the doctors checked his body temperature at the hospital. He was jerking around, not making real responsive moves. Yet they tried to revive him, and 5 hours later he died. His body temperature was 72 degrees. Come to find out, at some point during his stay, He ended up in the freezer at the Walker County prison. Now, where would the freezer be? Only in the kitchen. You put him in a kitchen freezer. Why were you putting this man's body or this man while he was still alive in the kitchen freezer? What was the point of doing that? Why are you punishing this man this way? Now, if you watch my other show on the mass shootings, I told you about mental health. Once again, we have police officers trying to handle people with mental health issues and drug issues, things that the police are not really trained properly to handle. He's having episodes in jail, yet you're sitting here trying to I don't know what that is. It's not treatment. It's not rehabilitation. You're just in there beating on the man when he acts up, so on and so forth. You do what police do to prisoners who are criminals. This guy technically is not a criminal, even though he was a drug abuser. He was also mentally unstable. This man should be in a mental institute, not in a county jail. Again, this is Alabama. Our wonderful Attorney General Steve Marshall says, we are waiting for the results of the investigation. Well, a body temperature of 72 degrees when you get to the what's it called? It's like room temperature. Why is this man room temperature? And if he was still alive at that point, which I'm starting to doubt if he was alive, you locked this man in the freezer, come to find out. This officer who released the video, of course, has been fired for, of course, procedural issues because he wasn't supposed to release the video unless the county decided to release the video, and he was wrong for doing so. But as far as I'm concerned, that video needed to be released to the family so somebody could get the truth out of this. It's amazing in Alabama how often video has still not been released from only a short snippet of the video from the Galleria incident here where a young man was killed a couple of years ago was released. Enough to basically justify why this young man was shot in the back. Because he had a gun, he pointed at the police, he turned around, he took off running, so then they shot him after that. So they say that's justifiable. Like I said, we only got a little bit of the information from that video. We know that there were other people involved because there was another shooting that preceded this that caused the young man to pull out his gun in the first because there were people shooting at them. But that's another incident altogether. This is another case. And I'm going to give you an update on the Tyree Nichols case in a minute. Here's another case. Not too dissimilar from the Tyree Nichols case of police misconduct. A piss poor management of their job. Also a case that shows you why mental health should not be handled by the police department. It's a sad story, and it needs to be told. The truth needs to be told about what happened to Anthony Mitchell, this young man whose life was spiraling out of control. But our society has decided that poor people, our folks, no matter where they are, whether they be in projects, a poor part of the county, wherever, that poor people only deserve one thing if they have an issue. They deserve to be locked up in prison and mistreated and punished. That seems to be the answer to all the things. Oh, they were going to fix his drug problem by beating him up, locking him in the freezer, and doing all these other things, tasing him. They were not mental health workers. They were not drug rehab workers. They were police officers and sheriffs. These are the wrong people, period, to handle this situation. Folks, well, I'm telling you about this story because this story is important. We keep having these stories over and over and over again. I'm frankly tired of these same stories, but they need to be told. We need to do something about them. The things that we aren't doing things about. As I said before, we need to work on health care, which will help work on mental health care and put in the proper things in place and do the proper things for that and properly fund those things so that we don't have these situations like mass shootings and men like this who end up in jail and end up dead for no reason at all. You have been listening to Thought You're Woke, No Speed Limit Podcast.